Literature is called the mirror of the society. Whatever happens in the society, they got reflected through literature. First World War, at the beginning of the 20th century, shook the world. It changed not only our economic life, political life, and social life. It changed immensely the way we look at literature. It gave birth to a new type of poetry, war poetry, in which most of the writers were soldiers. Today, I am going to discuss a poem which expresses the first-hand experience of its poet, who was a soldier. Yes, I am talking about Wilfred Owen's The Strange Meeting. The poem was published in 1919. The manuscript of the poem bears no specific date. Probably the poem was written in the last month of the poet's life. Wilfred Owen died on 4th November 1918, just a week before the end of the First World War. Before we move on to the summary and line-by-line explanation of the poem, let us discuss briefly two different phases in these war poems. Broadly, two phases of the national attitude can be distinguished in war poetry. The first was one of patriotic fervor, almost of rejoicing in the opportunity of self-sacrifice in the cause of human freedom. And the most outstanding of the romantic war poets was Rupert Brooke. Another name is Julian Grenfell. A victim of the First World War, Julian Grenfell maintains a spirit of tranquility and confidence not found in other war poets. But as the carnage went on increasing and there was no hope of its end, other poets arose with the declared intention of blasting this romantic illusion of the glory of war by a frank, realistic depiction of the horrors, savagery, and futility of war. Siegfried Sassoon is the first soldier poet to treat the war with horrifying realism and bitter satire and irony. Wilfred Owen is considered as the greatest of the war poets. He discards the usual romantic notions about war and strikes a new realistic note in his war poetry. He regards war as the cruel business of the armchair politicians who exploit the blooming youth in the name of patriotism. Let's move on to the summary of the poem. The poet imagines that out of battle he escaped into a profound dull tunnel where the sleepers are huddled together, and when he examined very closely, one among those encumbered sleepers sprang up and began speaking with him. The sleeper told the poet that, like the poet, he also had many dreams in his life, and he also went hunting wild after the wildest beauty. And he agrees with the soldier that in hell there is nothing left to hope for except their undone years. He has a grief that because of his premature death, he will never be able to tell the world about the brutalities of war, about the actual truths of war. Now, when the people will become satisfied with the destructions that they have made, they will be glad. But when they will become discontent, they will join the reactionary forces and engage themselves in war. Then a time will come when the wheels of the chariot, which the reactionary force are calling progress, will be obstructed by the blood of the men that they have killed. The sleeper will come and cleanse their wounds, heal their wounds with sweet waters from the well. Towards the end of the poem, he discloses his identity, that he was actually a German soldier whom the poet killed yesterday. And now, when the war is over, they are no longer an enemy to each other. He addresses the poet as a friend and asks him to sleep after the life's fitful favor. Let's move on to the line by line explanation of the poem. The poem is titled A Strange Meeting. The meeting is strange because it is a meeting between two dead people, and it is a meeting that is happening in hell. It seemed that out of battle I escaped, down some profound dull tunnel, long since scooped through granites which titanic wires had groaned. It seemed, the very word seemed, it signifies that the whole episode came to the poet as a vision. It seemed that out of battle I escaped. So very subjective tone. The first person is used here. At the very beginning, I told that this is the first-hand experience of Owen which he records in this poem. So this first person narration of the poem is very important here. I escaped. So he escaped from the battlefield. So this is an escape of death. Down some profound dull tunnel. So to some deep gloomy underground vault, long since scooped, so long since dug out through granites, through rocks, which titanic wires had groaned. Groan means built into vault. Titanic wires, that is great wires. In Greek mythology, Titans are the deities whom Jove, Apollo and Neptune overthrew. From the great size, the adjective came to mean colossal. So titanic wires refer to great ware. Yet also there encumbered sleepers groaned, too first in thought or death to be bestirred. Encumbered sleepers, encumbered, that is the crowded sleepers. The sleepers are huddled together in that dark, deep, gloomy tunnel. They are motionless. Bestirred means motionless, either because they are too first in thought of the war, or they are dead. Then, as I probed them, one sprang up and stared with piteous recognition in fixed eyes, lifting distressful hands as if to bless. So then as I probed them means as I made a thorough examination, one sprang up from that crowded slippers and stared with piteous recognition in fixed eyes. Fixed eyes refers to the fixed stare, the look of the dead. Lifting distressful hands. So lifting the painful hands as if to bless. So a kind of simile is used here, okay, as the use of the word as if to bless, as if to giving him blessings. So as they are dead, so they are now friends, they are no longer any enemy. So that's why the word blessing or lifting that painful hands to bless his enemy is very important, because after death they are completely away from their feelings of hatred. So it again and again emphasizes the futility of war, the futility of the enmity between these two opponent forces. And by his smile I knew that sullen hall refers to the gloomy chamber. By his dead smile, so dead smile, it refers to the smile devoid of any kind of feeling. I knew we stood in hell. So the way the sleeper is smiling to me, I recognize the place that actually we are in hell. Now it's very interesting here, a kind of the irony that is used by the poet, because when the soldiers are actually sent to the war front, they're again and again told that they are serving the country, and one day as they are serving the country, so they will go to heaven. Okay, they are sacrificing their life for the sake of their country, the noblest of the job one can do in his life. So they should be in heaven, but we find that the soldiers are actually in hell. So this is the irony that is basically present in this poem by Owen. With 1,000 pains that vision faced has groaned. So the face was marked with the tones of 1,000 sorrows, as a wood is marked with the lines of grain. So a kind of metaphor is used here. So the face was ultimately telling to the soldier that the sleeper has deep sorrow in his life. Yet no blood reached there from the upper ground, and no guns thumped. So that ground, that place in hell, their meeting place, was actually a place which is away from the battle, where no sounds of guns are there, and also no blood can come from the upper ground. Okay. Guns thumped is actually onomatopoeia. The sound is echoing the sense here. Or down the flues main moan. Flues refers to the air passage. Again, a personification is used here. A strange friend, I said, here is no cause to moan. None, said the other, save the undone years, the hopelessness. So the poet addresses him as a strange friend. Okay. Why the friend is strange? Because of that dead smile, the poet can have the idea that the man is dead. So that's why he is strange. And there is another implications of this strange friend, because that man was ultimately the man whom he killed yesterday. So that's why the man is a friend, but strange because the friend was ultimately killed by the poet yesterday. Okay, and as they both are dead now, so they are away from that feeling of hatred. Okay, so with death all their hatred are also gone. There is no cause to mourn, none, said the other. So other also agrees with the poet that in hell there is no cause to mourn except that undone years, except the years which is ultimately taken away from me, the undone years, the hopelessness. So in hell there is nothing left to hope for. Whatever hope is yours was my life also. I went hunting wild after the wildest beauty in the world, which lies not calm in eyes or braided hair, but mocks the steady running of hour. So here the sleeper ultimately says that whatever hope you had in your life was also there in my life, and I also went hunting wild after the wildest beauty which mocks the passage of time. So the beauty after which I hunt is an eternal beauty, okay, which mocks at time. And if it grieves, if that beauty grieves, it grieves richlier than hair. For of my glee might many men have laughed, and of my weeping something had been left for which must die now. So where being over, the world would forget of their sorrows. Okay, so world will no longer remember the sacrifice what they have done in the battlefield. I mean truth untold, the pity of the pity where distilled. So here we find the where is personified, distilling pity. Now men will go content with what we spoiled. Now people will get satisfied with what we have done in the battlefield, the destruction that we have done to the other side. Or discontent boil bloody and be spilled, and if they are not satisfied with the destruction that we have done, then they will join the reactionary forces and they will again engage themselves also in war and will be killed like us. They will be swept with swiftness of the tigress. So with the reference of the tigress, what the poet ultimately says that they will be very angry, okay, they will be very fierce, okay, they will be swift in that engagement of battle. None will break ranks though nation trek from progress. So none of these people, they will prove false to their commitments, but nation will move away from the path of progress. Trek means move away from. So nation will move away from the path of progress. Courage was mine and I had mystery. Wisdom was mine and I had mastery. So mystery refers to that I had that insight into the mystic knowledge, and I had also the wisdom to have full commands over the need of the situation, to miss the march of this retreating world, to be absent in the backward journey, okay, of this world, into vain citadels that are not world. So into the fortress that are not duly protected, which are defenseless. Then when much blood had clogged their chariot wheels, I would go up and wash them from sweet wells, even with truths that lie too deep for taint. So then when much blood had clogged. Clogged means obstructed. So a day will come when the wheels of the chariot, which these reactionary forces are calling progress, will be clogged by the blood of the people that they have killed. Then I will appear, I will come and heal their wounds with sweet waters of a well. Now here we find a biblical reference, and this sweet wells is also is used in the poem Send Off, where the armies who came from battle, who returned from battle, was ultimately going into the sweet wells of the village. Even with truths that lie too deep for taint, so the truths which will never be soiled, the truths which will never be covered, okay, but not through owns, not on the says of where. Says refers to an emergency tax, so this refers to extraction of levies, which is basically taken from the people to meet the military expenses. So not through owns, not on the says of where, foreheads of men have bled where no owns were. So this refers to the psychological pain, the mental pain, which is much more deeper than the physical pain. I am the enemy you killed, my friend. And now this is the point where he discloses his identity. I am the enemy you killed, my friend. And from a strange friend, here is my friend. So the soldier, while addressing the sleeper, used the word strange friend, whereas the sleeper, while addressing the soldier, used my friend, a more endearing term. Okay. I knew you in this dark. So this is dark. In this gloomy chamber, I hardly can see your face, but I knew you because you killed me. For so you frowned yesterday through me as you jabbed and killed. I parried, that is, I turned aside the short thrust, but my hands were loath and cold, so I am tired of killing. Let us sleep now. So let us sleep after life's fitful favor. And this word us, it suggests that the poet too is dead. We find that the idiocy of where is the main motto of the poem. Now if we look into the identity of these two soldiers, we find that a considerable part of the poem is made up of the speech of the sleeper. Now the sleeper, the words that he uses are very elevated words. They are not everyday day-to-day words, like the vain citadels, like the pity of where, like the wisdom, courage, mastery, retreating walls, sweet wells. So through this it's very clear that he is a Christ-like figure. Again when he said that when much blood has clogged their chariot wheels, then I would go up and wash them from sweet wells. So he may be Jesus Christ, who is ultimately trying to heal the humanity when the human beings are ultimately engaged at war and doing destruction. Okay. He will come and heal the wounds of these people. Another interpretation about the identity of the soldier and the sleeper can be that these are actually the two halves of the same person. The soldier kills the poetic self of the poet. The sleeper is represented the poetic self of the poet. He tells in the poet that he went hunting the wild after the wildest beauty, and the elevated diction that is used by the sleeper tells us about his poetic self. And we know that Wilfred Owen had to join the battle under circumstances quite unavoidable, and the poetic self, the artistic sensibility of Owen is actually killed by the soldier Owen. Another important aspect of the poem is the use of pararhyme or half rhyme. It is a kind of rhyme where the end syllables have the same consonant but slightly different vowel sound, like escaped, scooped, groaned, grained. This type of rhyme scheme is intended to smother the emotion and make the reader feel the edge of realities. It signifies something incomplete, half, not complete, like the lives of the soldiers, which are not complete but cut short at the beginning of their life. If you have any kind of questions, queries, observation, comments, feel free to express that in the comment section. I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching the video.